elementary school teacher, and students have accidentally called me different names. Mom, Mama. But today, a student accidentally called me Alexa.
Honey, teaching kids isn't the same anymore. I gotta keep the kids constantly engaged. Not even just engaged, but almost overstimulated. Girl, bye, I got kids saying 6-7 repeatedly. They don't even know how to spell 6-7.
Kids can't do basic things anymore.
We have zero problem-solving skills. And it's not even just the inability to do work. It's the inability to follow any directions.
We're at the point in the literacy crisis where whole classrooms of kids are struggling with reading. In like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I don't know.
Kids are not being taught well enough to even work at Taco Bell.
The iPad in every classroom ruin education. Not only do they have screen time all the time at home, they also always have a screen at school.
We are scared because we are watching critical thinking disappear in real time.
As somebody that taught high school, we should all be scared.
Every generation has had its defining.
All credit to this lady here,
Boomers were worried about nuclear war.
Ashley Embers, I think, on YouTube.
Gen Z grew up surrounded by existential instability.
Ashley Embers. I'm not sure if you caught much of that because it looks like the volume's a bit low, but the state of it, mate. The absolute uninfringed state of it. Let's just do the old.
Read the index card for me.
She wore a suit, clothes that were. Who's this for? Extraordinary, but somewhat Gertrude?
Now explain what that means.
I don't know.
She wore a sahalat of clothes that were extraordinary, whatever, bro, but somewhat huge.
What does that mean?
She wore a lot. Wait, she wore. I don't know, bro. Can you take the card back, please?
She wore a. Oh, baby. She wore a silhouette of.
I don't want it to be a video of all black kids, but the sad fact is these kids got let down by the system in a big old way.
Clothes that were extraordinary, but somewhat.
Read the index card.
The animal's president, affections reflected in deeply ingrained behavioral religions.
Read the index card.
The day
9 out of 10, right?
Unwavering loyalty, exemplified in unreciprocated.
Bruh, I bet she knows everything about social justice.
Unreciprocated emotional dependency.
Nice.
Did I say dog? The dogs? Oh my God, I said doors.
Read the index card.
The deity? Deity? How the f you say that, bro? Hey, Shanti, help me. Deity? Deity? The deity? I'm gonna just say the deity. I ain't gonna lie. The deity had a premotion? What the f? Cause that don't say promotion. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. F that card game.
Read the index card.
My boy on the side, like.
Oh my gosh.
Persistent affection reflected a deeply integrated.
But she looks so cute though.
Reliance.
But she looks so cute though.
A stiletto of clothes that
Hey yo,
were
sick fit though.
extraordinary, but somewhat.
Come on, you got
this. My boy looking fresh. My boy.
Hey man, you probably the smartest one we had today. Read the index card.
The animal's president.
Let's read this.
Read the index card.
The animal's president.
Let's read this together. The dog's unwavering loyalty exemplified in unreciprocated emotional dependency. You got it too, right?
Dog's unwavering loyalty. I don't know that word. Not even lie. A lot of big words. Emotional dependency. Sorry.
The animal's persistent affection reflected a deeply ingrained behavioral reliance.
Oh, nothing to do with the color of your skin.
This dog wants to be in your skin.
Look at my black queen over here, just reading that shit.
I can't read. President, affection.
Look at my boy.
And deeply ingrained development. Viral resilience.
Her image was meticulously constructed to sustain widespread admiration. She is popular. She's famous. She's gorgeous. She's beauty and she's grace. She ain't United States because we can't read.
Her image, oh my God, meticulously constructed to sustain outward spread. I'd wait
The deity had a premonition of the impending cataclysmic
Are you
event.
thinking too hard?
He had a promotion, premonition of the impending.
One of the things you notice with all these videos as well is there's this like the fucking. Keep my language straight on this. I mean, let me get this thought out clearly. It's the default mode of a lot of these young people when they reach the point in the reading challenge that they cannot proceed, or they don't recognize the words, or they don't know what to say or how to say it. There's this, it's like these 2 or 3 emotions that come through real quick fire, and it's sort of this sort of like the shame, and then they're like, I don't give a fuck, and they're like, what the fuck, bro? And so you get this sort of like, I don't give a fuck about it, and then sort of move on to the next word. But it's like this like boom, boom, boom of the emotional state where you can see it happen in real time.
Am I thinking too hard?
The deity had a premonition.
She played that off cool. Where's a good example of this?
Reflect the animals.
Dependency, sorry.
The animals.
I don't know that word, not even lie. A lot of big words. Unemotional.
And so it goes from like, I don't know, fuck, to sort of like, who are you asking me this shit, to like, well, I'm just dumb and that's alright. Like, it's sort of like this flippant, like, it's the exact same process that we go through politically when it's like, if you become aware of a change in politics that you are unhappy with, and you say anything about it, first, it's, that's bullshit. Second, it's, that's not happening. You're retarded. Like, why are you asking? And then third, it's like, it is happening and it's a good thing. And that's exactly what's happening here. It's like, first is, and then it's like, well, why does it matter that I don't know? And then it's like, I don't know, but that's funny. I don't know, but that's funny. It's funny. It's cute. It's endearing. It's,
emotional dependence.
it's cute.
Dependency.
Depending.
Animals' persistent effect.
It's cute.
Can you read or not, Randy? Of course I can fucking read. Randolph, just read this and prove it to everyone for once and for all.
Brother.
I'm a little hesitant.
Oh,
Hands
it's
up.
not looking good for bro. That's not looking good either.
Can't read it?
I can't read.
You can't read.
I can't read.
It's okay.
No, it says I can't.
It's okay. Read it on. It's okay. There's a lot of people. Well, probably not a lot. There's definitely some though that can't do that either. Can you read?
Read this word.
Zelma? I learned cursive in 3rd grade.
Read this word.
Hey, the word up on there. You gotta go to another car.
Read this word.
This cursive? I can't read cursive.
It's a Z
Bruh.
or a Q. You tell me.
What that say? Yeah, yellow?
Read this word.
Your spelling sucks.
Read this word. Corella? Corella. That's a J. J. I don't know cursive. Read this word.
Nah.
Cursive. What the?
Read this word. Crema?
Sprelmo?
It said crema. Jarella. Next word. That was just a hard one. Read this word.
Yell ra. It's in like Spanish. What the f is this?
Read this word.
Mama?
What in the world is it? It's like a loop.
Cursive.
It's cursive.
Read this word.
Is that in a word?
Read this word.
What is the first?
Imagine you can like, for the 1 in 100 of these kids that like their parents and their grandparents across the generations gave enough of a shit about passing on like their family history, and they're gonna get like a stack of letters from grandma that they can't read. There's gonna be like they're gonna get to Nana's diary. They're gonna be able to finally unlock all of the root causes of the generational trauma of their family, and they're gonna be like, Jarella, Zamama, Zamama. Why does Nana's diary say that she went to El Cedar and sold Jamamas? It's gonna be it's gonna be completely unable to understand. We have your proud history, your proud lineage of people passing down the art and science of communicating with language and all this effort that went into educating you and raising you so you could have all these opportunities, so you could live this meaningful life, so that you could get to this place, so that all of the effort that was put in by all of the generations that preceded you, like the wars that were fought and won by your great 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 grandfathers and your great 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 grandfathers, and all the sacrifices that were made, and your great grandmother going back 10 generations who had like 11 kids and lost 3 of them and had like a home business and was preserving fruit and had a veggie garden and did all this shit so that you could get to this point where you can't even read her recollections of what she lived through. You got no clue. You will never have a clue what people sacrificed so that we could get to this point, because you can't even read the word zebra.
Read this word.
Zalera?
Selena?
Helpra.
Read this word.
Cursive, that's what this is? But what is it saying?
I'm asking you.
I do not know.
Read this word.
Pellagra.
I'm not retarded, right? It is zebra, right? There's zebra, right? Am I retarded? There's zebra, right?
What's the first letter?
There's like the top of the Z, the shaft of the Z, and the bottom of the Z right here. Then you've got the loop of the E. You've got it's coming up. You can see even you can deduct with like a reasonable level of intelligence that you've got this loop here, which is just connecting this letter to that letter. You can see individual letter here, and you can see how this part of this letter is just being looped up into this next one. So it's clear that this part of the script here, this little line here, is just the flourish that's coming back to the top here to cause the upright of the B coming in for a loop, which darts over to form the upright of the R and come down. Now, the R, the cursive R is weird, and that's awkward, but then that just comes up to the A. I mean, I guess, yeah, I totally get it. Have you seen Russian cursive? They can read that shit. Russians can read Russian cursive. Or Cyrillic cursive, I guess it'd be called. But, like, no shit. This is... That's the script, that's printing in Cyrillic script. And then it gets turned... Oh, that's a less extreme example. I saw some recently that were like... That guy translating from Russian into... So huge amount of their... Maybe I was fooled, but I'm pretty sure this is... That's your Russian word. And it just looks like ooh woo woo woos. But what you've got is the sharpness of the points of the woos. And the frequency of the dips. That's literally Russian cursive, as far as I understand it. So I mean, if you are unable,
were fully established, and it became the standard for personal correspondence, business transactions, and even school assignments. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure Russian universities require these letters. Le, I, sh, she, tse, me. Because when you use these letters together, they look the same. There's no deviation.
oh, okay, so there's 6 letters there that look exactly the same in Russian cursive.
Russian cursive 100 times more legible. And it's pretty simple. Just add this little divot to your L's, and most words just become significantly easier to read. And honestly, most of the memes that you see about Russian cursive on the internet are pretty inaccurate and use words that are so rarely used that as a Russian learner, you probably will never see them.
Thank you for correcting my assumption, but you can imagine how much harder it would be for those kids to read the Russian. If they were Russian, they'd be real fucked.
Read this word.
This cursive, I can't read cursive.
It's a Z.
So that's just people on the street drunk, right? That's just people on the street. I haven't done a video about this, but boy, have a lot of other people. Ashley Embers, Shera, Damon Cassidy, Misha Petrov, Casey Simpson. I saw one of these recently. It's bad.
There's a serious crisis in education today because kids are too busy 6-7ing to learn how to read at their grade level.
The kids can't read, write, or remember anything or use their imaginations, and the teachers are wondering why.
They're feral, they can't read, they're crazy.
People are putting screens in front of their children instead of books.
Why do you need 2 screens?
Because they can't watch YouTube on this one.
And that is leading to not just a lack of literacy, but
Bro. What?
are putting screens in front of their children instead of books.
Why do you need 2 screens?
Because they can't watch YouTube on this one.
And that is leading to...
I've noticed this shit recently as well. Whenever I see videos of these kids at, like iPad kids doing this shit, whenever I see something like this, it's like, the kids have got the most, like, minimalism has taken hold. And they've got the most bland and boring bedrooms and personal spaces you've ever seen. Like, it's just completely, like the way that white chicks decorate their houses, the way that modern people decorate their houses, and it's all just, like, everything's painted white. And everyone's got, like, a shelf with, like, a long grassy plant in the corner of, like, it's just all the same. It's all the same. And when I was a kid, it was like, how much cool, different, unique shit. How many different posters could you have on your wall? Like, my brother and I both had... One of my brothers and I, we both had, like, well, my dad actually made sure we all did, have, like, pin boards, so that we could all display stuff on our own walls in our rooms. So, like, if I got a certificate for something, or if I took a cool photo, or if I got something signed, and I had this pinboard on my wall at home, which was covered in these, like, little trinkets, and pieces of strips of film, and little notes from people, and little drawings people had done at school. Like, my whole wall on the back of my room was just, like, personally decorated by me with all the shit that, all the things that I sort of generated, all the, oh my goodness, that's a short cable, all of the stuff that I generated, my sort of memorabilia. And if you look behind me here, I've got the same thing. I've got, like, a shelf full of VHS tapes. I've got a guitar that was sort of custom painted as a piece of art, just a second-hand guitar was custom painted as a piece of art by a friend. I've got the bloody Halo 1 limited edition original Xbox box up there. I've got Master Chief's helmet, camera up there, drone controller, some tapes, see some PS1 games, I think. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Balls, and there's a photo that I took. That's one of the photos that I displayed at a photographic exhibition that I did with some friends. If I turn this camera around here, you'll see, like, some Pokemon cards. I got my first graphics card on the wall. Like, there's a bunch of interesting shit in here. It's not, like, dead boring and full of, like, bro, my house has got more screens in it than most motherfuckers. Pardon my French, but if you come into my house, my lounge has 3 TVs in it. And they're not just stacked in it, like, they're fully functional. I got, like, 4 DVD players, I got the record player, I got a stack of records in there, art all over the walls. We got rugs, we got paintings, we got all sorts of artifacts and stuff. It's like, the kids these days don't have any toys. They just have screens. And when you look as well, like, here's a classic example. This seems mundane to me, but I guess there's people out there that are in their 20s or their late teens that they don't realize this. If I go, cell phone 2001. This is what cell phones used to look like. So different phones from different manufacturers would all look very different. And so, like, that is a bunch of different phones from Nokia. That is a bunch of early Sony Ericssons. You can see there's different shapes, different layouts for the buttons, trying different things. Some of them got cameras on the front, some of them got cameras on the back. This one is like a PDA. It's got some sort of, like, internal screen there that can be... You open up the keypad and use a more significant portion of the screen at a certain time. You had flips with extendable antennas. You had flips with big screens, small screens, color screens. Let's go cell phone 2005. We've got some, this is getting into the coolest era of cell phones here. Look at that, bro. Oh my goodness gracious, look at that. You had Walkman phones, so phones that were specifically designed to be high-performance MP3 players, which had expandable memory. Those Sony Ericssons had great cameras, took good videos, I mean, for the day. The Motorola Razr, the OG. What a unit. Look at this Nokia experiment with having a phone which had a keypad, but you could open it up and basically have one half of a keyboard on each side of your hand. Let's go cell phone 2010. We are headed out of the golden era in 2010, and the last remaining contender for anything original is probably going to be BlackBerry, who recently, I think, actually went completely defunct. But we're now headed into this era of, wow, having a full-size color screen and a touch screen, because touch screens were so novel at the time, were so good. Early touch screens, for those of you who didn't know, touch screens on like, and you might experience these in like older cars, and older these days probably means anything earlier than 2010 or 2015. But touchscreens used to be basically like a big clear panel made up of a grid of buttons, and so you actually had to apply physical pressure to the touchscreen. You could see, and you can see it on like a Nintendo DS. I've got one here. On a Nintendo DS, you can see that the touchscreen has behind it like a grid, and you won't see this on the camera, but there's a grid behind the screen, and there's a degree to which if you want to touch the screen, just touching the screen like a modern touchscreen isn't enough. Touching it doesn't do it. You have to apply physical pressure. That's what does it. Applying physical... Actually, it won't work. Oh, yeah, it does. So applying physical pressure, actually pushing it, is what causes the touchscreen to work. If you don't apply the physical pressure, it doesn't work. And you can see how if I touch it lightly, I can do that and nothing happens. But if I apply some physical pressure, then it works. So a touchscreen used to be a set of clear switches laid over a display, and now it's a capacitive touchscreen. And that was a novelty at the time. We all got so excited about having capacitive touchscreens, and now they dominate our lives. This is the black mirror that they talk about. If you didn't know, that's what everyone knows that, right? Man, they are awful devices. So 2010, we are headed out of a golden era, and now we may as well... I won't skip ahead, I'll stick with it. 2015, cell phones, things are starting to look the same. That's a bunch of Androids and an iPhone. Now it's you can find photos because it's so boring. Go cell phone 22. I suppose now they don't call them cell phones, do they? Bro, look at that. Man, that is boring. Oh, what? Wow. I like the Nokia. Which one is that, you might ask? No idea. There is no... And it's the same thing with if I go SUV 1995. A whole bunch of different designs here. We got we got a Toyota RAV4, we got a Mitsubishi Pajero, we got a Jeep that looks like a Ford Bronco, we got a Chevy, those are the same because they're GM. A lot of American stuff the same. That's a Toyota 4Runner or a Hilux to surf, depending on what you're talking about. You got an Explorer there or something like that. Got some variation there. SUV 2000. Now we're getting into a golden era of SUVs, and we can see there's some different designs here. You got something like that, it's the 2000 Lexus. But then you've got a somewhat different design on the front of the Ford Explorer. And you've got something real different with the FJ Toyota. You've got Toyota coming out with the Highlanders, and things are already, to be fair, getting boring for car development in 2000. Like, I'm obviously showing my age by saying that 2000 was a golden era for car design. Let's go 2010. Things are starting to look, as you just notice as well, the color. As you get more and more modern, the color of the vehicles goes from being full of these earthy tones, greens, blues, maroon, red. You got some of these sort of like more goldy tones. That's like a nice sort of sky blue even. That's like a proper like British Navy blue. And that's obviously that's not a 2000. Is that actually a 2000? Wow. But so even like that's not an SUV, but that's a. And I can prove this point. I can prove this point. Let's just go SUV 2020, and now I guess things are starting to differentiate themselves more on the face of it. But what you'll find is that there is a very recognizable pattern of design. And let's have a look at this. Every single one of these cars has the upswept back tick on the rear window. There's a Hyundai, has the upswept back tick on that rear window there. Here is a Maybach that's got the upswept back tick on the window there. That is looks like a Nissan or a Holden or something. That's got that upswept back window. There's the Kia with the upswept back window. There's the Ford with the upswept back window. There's the Kia with the upswept back window. There's a Hyundai with the upswept back. They all have the same styling cues. They all are the same kind of grotesque fist for a face. Look, there's a Hyundai and there's a Kia. And they have effectively the same sort of this oblique rectangle here and the big mouth. That oblique rectangle here is broken up into two different portions of light, but it's the same face on an absolute dog. This thing, it's slightly more sweet, but and I guarantee you as well, and I don't need to be the guy who actually I'm not an automotive journalist, bro. But if you look into it, you will find that Infiniti SUV is the exact same thing beneath the skin as this Toyota is, as this Ford is, as this BMW is. They'll be the exact same chassis code probably. They'll probably all have motors by, and we've seen this for years because we've seen open partnerships between car manufacturers, but also going back to time immemorial, you've got car companies working together to do completely normal economic activities like selling a bunch of their cars to a competitor so that they can rebrand them and sell them in a different market under a different name. And that's just standard. We've got to consider what's the purpose of marketing then if it's not to provide us with these high quality products. If the purpose of the modern design of this is not necessarily to make things better or more unique or with more purpose, then what is the purpose of modern design? Because if I go architecture 1800, wow, look at the detail. Look how that is like, it's got personality, it's got presence. Let's go architecture 1900. Wowee. That's gorgeous, man. Look at that. Sort of like invert to classic style by having the sort of the negative detail of the that is gorgeous. Look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we must have, it was really good in 1800. It was really good in 1900, so it must be really good in 2000. I like that. That's interesting. That's an assembly of shapes. (2000's) most influential architecture. Look at it. It looks like the kind of place that would be used as like a music video location for a rap artist, but then also like the private location of some sort of Bohemian Grove after party. Like the victim gets sacrificed here, or the star performs here while the camera shoots with the pool as the background. But in either case, get fucked. That is a nice example of how a modern architectural style can actually be combined with some classical elements to provide an aesthetic that isn't entirely hideous, but it's effectively just like, hey bro, can we make everything square? What's easy? That's interesting. That's just... Bro, that's boring as fuck. Boring as fuck. Interesting, boring. Boring, boring, interesting, interesting. Boring, boring. So if I go, for instance, Cityscape 1900, and I'll stop banging on about this in just a minute. Cityscape 1900, boy howdy. Cityscape 2000. Bruv. Got any more rectangles, bro? We are not like... Science is a tool, but we are not scientific creatures. And we're even, really, you can... a lot of people get to this point where it's like, you're not a physical being either. Like, you have a body that you have to look after, but who you are is really a spiritual being, which has agency over a body, which is also kind of like a flesh prison for you for as long as you're living in it. But it's also the only thing that you have any real control over. The only thing you have any real control over. And then you've got a mind, which is like a computational and storage. And it's the most amazing, it's the most advanced, and it's the central miracle of the universe is the human mind. But these are all tools at your disposal. And together, we, as a society, we create cultures which display themselves across all these paradigms, so that their culture is displayed through the way that you are internally. Your culture is embodied, or it's given imperative, it's given a personality through you, and it also will then express itself through your physical appearance. And so the way that you, not just your thoughts, because your culture is going to impact your thoughts and that's going to impact how you act, and that's going to impact how you look and whatever. It's going to impact your physical, the way that you dress, and the way that you decorate your home, for instance. And then at the next level out, it's going to impact the way that you interact with society, and the way that you interact with the other people who make up that society. And then it's also going to go to how you and those people who make up that society actually sort of cooperate and conspire together to build a nation or a road or a building. And in the 1800s, when people had no sort of the kind of modern luxuries of social justice, or the normalization of diverse forms of sexual degeneracy, before we had managed to successfully rid ourselves of the concept of a creator god, we were creating... Is this AI shit? Like, what's going on here? I swear the last search I did of 1800, the results were different. Oh, 1900. So, probably because there weren't that many actual photos of them in 1800. Even in an image like this, you can see that there is a certain degree of architectural complexity which exists in the times of old, if you look in closely at the different shapes and sizes and contours of the buildings, the people and their minds and their combined powers in 1900 produced cityscapes that looked like this, and which we remember aesthetically as this. And in 2000, they look to us like this. That looks like the bottom of like a pitch trap. Looks like a fucking claw of knives or something. That's like, this is not paradise. This is not aesthetic. This is not beautiful. And so, what you are, you're not able to redefine and recharacterize by forcing yourself into a city that looks like this. You have to, from the inside of yourself, represent and produce and bring forth a culture which is capable of creating an environment which matches your sense of aesthetics. And so because you're a person, because you're a being which cares to live or not in a place which is beautiful, and because these things impact you from the inside to the outside and back again, because what you are, if you are an island, if it is just up to the individual, then what you are is a person that creates your environment, and then your environment informs who you are, because it allows you in this feedback way to actually learn from your mistakes or from your successes. And if you subscribe to this idea that we all just learn everything, including our likes and dislikes and our hates and our sexualities, whatever, that everything is essentially malleable, and that the only reason we live with any semblance of the structure and order which can now be conveniently referred to as far-right extremism or fundamentalism or capitalism or whatever, the only reason that we have, or if we excuse ourselves of that notion, that and we come to the assumption that all of that is just a construction, and all of the structure that we live in is just a construction, and then we allow ourselves to spend 50 to 100 years deconstructing all of that, because we have learned, we've discovered, we've come to the righteous conclusion that actually it was all a waste of time, and that was all just, this was all just misguided. This is just misguided. You don't want this. This clean street, this beautiful building, these healthy people walking together and individually, dressed nicely. You don't want that. You don't want this. Couple well-dressed gents on a well-kept sailboat with nice clean-looking city in the background. Obviously, you can't tell how clean the streets are from that distance. I'm not pretending. And obviously, you go back far enough. Street peddlers at Little Jerusalem. Oh, well, that's hilarious. No comment. Street peddlers at Little Jerusalem, and then here's Christmas shoppers, New York. And what do you notice? That's what New York looks like today. That's what it was supposed to be. Look at these little archways, these little canopies over the doorways there. Gorgeous. Things used to be beautiful. Things used to be truly beautiful. Look at that. I mean, I went, I say recently, but you know, only a few years ago, to the city square of Bruges. I went and stayed, I think just 1, maybe 2 nights in Bruges, which is Bruges or Brugge, depending on how you pronounce it and how you look. And it's one of the most well-preserved medieval villages. I'll prepare some photos from my trip at some point. That is just in the public domain. That's just part of the public domain. Is this? I had dinner at this place here. Al Petit Cafe, but not the cafe. There's a little pizza place. Actually, I think that might be because there's another part on the side of it. But there is extensive beauty. Extensive beauty in the Western heritage here. I know what that noise was. I think it was this telling me that it's done. Oh yeah, thanks. Thanks, G. Here you have, and like for instance, as we used to have in the Netherlands, they have these things, and they still have them today, Kaarsmarkt. There's your Dutch culture, specific uniforms and dress, specific hairstyle, specific like clear linkage of like background genetics, but also unique family traits, different hats, food production, people spectating, part of an annual festival where the local cheese produce is basically bought and sold in large quantities, and this is how they move the sort of 8 wheels at a time or whatever of this cheese. You can see these guys here, they got special hats, they got their suspenders on and their trousers and their boots, and you see the herringbone pattern of the bricks in the street. You see these beautiful little houses behind there. You're not allowed to have this anymore because this is white supremacy. You're not allowed to have a city which looks like this anymore. You're not allowed to have this. You're not allowed to walk down the street at night and hear church bells and look up and see that. I've been there, that's real. I'm not sure if that tower has been edited into the back of this photo. Or if that's just, that tower is the real tower though. No, it looks like that is, because I've got a similar photo, but I didn't realise that. I hadn't remembered that that tower is still in the background there. In the movie, they make it look taller than it is. It's really only, I think it's like 40 meters tall. But you can go to the top of that tower, and you can listen to a set of church bells which have been ringing for like 100 years. Now, you've been duly informed by someone in your life that correlation does not equal causation, and that you can't necessarily draw any conclusions between a society which was capable of producing books, binding them. Let's go back. I was just trying to give an example of like 1500s where books were still being sort of handwritten. Having a form of handwriting and a whole culture around the production of durable ways to store information for future generations so that people wouldn't be able to read a single word out of one of these scripts because
Not just the lack of literacy, but a lack of confidence and a great deal of anxiety.
Like, they don't know how to put things away. They don't know common decency.
Having to teach and work with you guys as children has been the most traumatic experience of my life.
So, oh, that's a horrible pause. That's a horrible
risk
pause.
if something doesn't change fast.
So, you can't... You're not allowed to say that, and this is probably my most used phrase, and I don't actually mean it. I don't mean that you're not allowed to say it. I mean that the common popular politics is that you should be shamed for saying anything. If you draw any conclusions, if you notice anything, if you combine two pieces of information into a piece of deductive reasoning about how the world works or what's really going on here, then you actually only do that at your peril because then people will recognize you as the horrible, bigoted, racist, transphobe that you are. Even if you haven't ever done anything or said anything hateful towards these people, they are now actually licensed to hate you because you're so hateful, because you don't necessarily agree with the society and the culture which has produced the lowest rates of literacy in modern history in the West. And for the first time, a generation of kids that are dumber than the parents that had them. We fucked. Pardon my French, but we are sustaining damage. Like, featuring all these people's videos when I haven't edited one together myself. Do I deserve to speak on this when I haven't myself spent 3.5 hours editing the intro 41 seconds out of a bunch of screen recorded TikToks that I took over the course of 6 hours of
Gen Z have such a hard
doom
time
scrolling?
growing up is because Gen Z does not have any of the milestones past generations have.
What happens when an entire generation of people cannot enter a job market because entry-level jobs have collapsed?
Nearly everyone I've talked to recently is just like, yeah, haha, I can't really afford groceries.
The average person in America.
Yo, I feel sorry for these kids, but this is literally what you agree with all of this. Like, you won't say no to immigration. You won't say no to any sort of sensible economic policy. You won't say no to all of this anti-natalist propaganda. You will not give anyone a chance to breathe who says that they think that it should be the case that a man can earn enough money to keep his wife, his woman, at home, safe and fed and able to provide for the kids. You're a horrible, ancient, stone-aged fascist if you think that it is an ideal scenario for a man whose biological motivators make him perfectly suited to going out and spending the day struggling and labouring to work while his wife stays at home and looks after the kids so that you can have a family, so that you can have a society with a future. But they say, no, actually, having kids is bad. Oh, by the way, now that there's no one in the country left to do any entry-level jobs or pay any taxes in the lower or intermediate rungs of the tax bracket system, well, we're just going to have to start importing a whole bunch of mofos from wherever. We're just going to have to open up the borders to whoever wants to come here. And then, to make you feel better about it, or at least to stop your discontent from being heard, we will socially enforce a new paradigm whereby anything you say to oppose this new way can be immediately classified as racist and dismissed. We're going to redefine what it means to have a country so that even though the carrot and the stick, which were used to motivate your entire generation of kids through to performing and working and contributing to the job market and doing all this stuff, that the carrot and the stick were both... The carrot was, you're going to get to have a home and have a family of your own one day and make your own decisions and have political agency, i.e. some democratic influence over what happens in your local area and your country at large. And the stick was, if you don't assimilate, if you don't participate in the shared culture of this country, then you will be ostracized. You will be, if your malcontent should become criminal, then you will go to prison. And you'll go to prison for substantial periods of time designed to deter people from committing criminal offences. That if you come to this country illegally, for instance, or if you sneak your way in here, that because we take those things seriously, because the economic opportunities here are the reserved right of the rightful citizenry, that we will actually punish you, remove you, and send you back home. And that we won't, and that when we do allow people here, we'll make sure that they are people who are trustworthy citizens of a culturally compatible country, where we accept a limited number of migrants with a stated intention of contributing to and assimilating into the culture and nation that they're arriving in. And so you're not allowed to say anything about that. And so the same people that they really wanted, because the whole purpose of this was to extend the momentum, the cultural momentum of feminism. And this is not the actual behind the curtains purpose. This is what the kids believe is going on. Is that with the social momentum provided by the gay rights movement and feminism, we were going to move forward into this new utopia, and that it was going to create perfect peace and opportunity and the end of all hatred. We were going to do this by socially enforcing mandated hatred of any artifact of the past and anyone who represents or speaks on behalf of the traditional way of doing things, which will now be viewed as the outdated mode of doing things. Now, once the workforce has doubled in size and therefore the demand for labour has dropped through the floor along with the wages, and it now is necessary for two people to work to support a family or any chances of having a family, you're going to diversify the economy into a specific set of services and businesses designed to keep people working, not to improve the efficiency of their labor. And so the result of that is going to be people who have to go to work to pay for childcare so that they don't have to be at home looking after their kids, so that they can go to work to pay for their childcare, so that they can go to work to pay for their childcare, so that they can go to work to pay for their childcare, and just be on that treadmill forever until their kids are. That's why people now make the economic choice, as we discussed in one of my videos last week, to only have one or two kids. We discuss why, when you ask the question, why is the birth rate coming down? When you look into it, people say it's an economic decision. Now, why are people's reproductive decisions being made along economic basis? And if it is the case, then why is the decision we're going to have less kids instead we're going to have more? And as the question is the meme of how badly do you have to abuse a mammal for it to not want to reproduce? Well, if you look at like an animal population, what do you have to do to most mammals to get them to stop reproducing them? You remove their agency in terms of their food. You put them in a cage and you stress them out. You provide them unnatural living arrangements. And you wonder if for 1,000 years the prevailing technology of Western society was the family unit, where a man would act as the hard edge and a woman would act as the soft core of a family, so that the children would always have something to protect them and something to nurture them. And then those children could, because humans grow from children into adults who then have children, there's this because humans don't live forever and must have children. You get this? You get this? That like you're here to make babies? That's the purpose? And that's the self-actualization that people are doing. Again, and tell me I'm wrong, but we'll have an argument about it in the comments. We have an argument about it over the dinner table, because you have to spell every little thing out. Because you're not allowed to make a point based on deductive reasoning anymore, based on the evidence of your own eyes and your own experience. You're not allowed to say shit anymore about the world you live in. Because if you do, someone will step in to make justifications for why it's better now that less kids are driving. It's better now that the age of people actually beginning to join the workforce, or the age of people getting their license, or the age of people moving out of home is getting later and later and later. It's better now that people are having less kids later in life. That's a good thing for some reason. And the reason is always just an article written by some Harvard graduate. The reason is always some New York Post article about how whiteness needs to be smashed because whiteness is the foundation of the patriarchy, and patriarchy is the foundation of capitalism. Capitalism is the reason that we all have such luxury goods, and that's why we should all fucking die and burn in hell. Like, you literally have the most miserable people on the planet screaming through their phones that capitalism is the main cause of human suffering, while relying on immigrant labor to satisfy the capitalist machine in order that they can receive the extreme high levels, the record high levels of social support required for the low mental health of today's kids. So the most unhappy, they're not having kids, they're fucking miserable. They've got no prospects, romantically, professionally, politically, and they are motivated more than ever now to unleash their vitriol and their hatred upon the people who want to try and turn back the clock to a time when one income was enough to provide a family, that is, a husband and a wife and their children, maybe 3 or 4 children or more, with enough food, enough economic power, enough economic energy to get educated, to travel, to do occasional holidays, to own and furnish a home with modern goods of luxury living. My dad told me a story recently about how his mother, who was a stay-at-home mother for a large portion of her life, that she spent something like, I think like $2,1968 on like the first microwave. And it was like a 500-watt microwave. And she spent like, at least, I think I'll round it down for the sake of the story, but I'm pretty sure he said something like 2,000 or like $1,500 for a 500-watt microwave. A 500-watt microwave today, I don't think you can buy a 500-watt microwave. If you bought a 500-watt microwave today, it would probably come with like a USB-C port and recharging ability. Like, 500 watts is laughable. I literally saw a 600-watt space heater, which was the size of a tissue box, in the warehouse the other day. But my nana spent like $1,000+ in the late 60s on a microwave which today wouldn't be enough to defrost a loaf of bread in an acceptable time frame. Like, just pure insanity. And like my dad, who was just like, he was just a working class bloke. He told me that he spent $1,200 on the first CD player that he bought. And I think he would have been about 20 years old. And my dad was born in 1956. So let's go inflation calculator. Buying power over time. So compare buying power. Let's say, and 1,200, and let's go 19. Let's say he was 20 years old when he bought this thing. Yo, my dad spent the equivalent of fucking $13,000 on a CD player. He's a builder. Sorry, bro, I'm not interested in your smart. My father, a carpenter, spent comfortably, in 1976, approximately, the equivalent of approximately $13,000 of modern money on a CD player. Just to repeat that, in somewhere in the time between 1975 and 1985, when my dad was a young man and a builder, just a trade-certified carpenter, which used to be a valuable skill in this country. A highly valuable skill in this country. Trades used to be highly valuable, highly sought after, and positions that you could easily get into and find yourself some good training in. Somewhere in that time when my dad was in his 20s, he spent the equivalent of $13,000 of modern money on a CD player for himself. Like, I recently spent an extravagant amount of money on a CD player, okay? And that extravagant amount of money was, I'm pretty sure, like $800. And if we go back here, if we go start year, I wonder if this thing will work in reverse. How do I get to, if I go, what would be the equivalent price? $100. Okay, so about, let's go like this. It looks like it's about a factor of 10. So if I spent, that would be like me buying my 5-disc Yamaha CD changer for $80 in 1976. Now let's just to contextualize this, let's do a quick Google, and let's go, what could 80 NZD buy in 1976. In 1976, 80 NZD was a substantial amount of money, roughly equivalent to a week's wages. The average was about... So that makes sense, because that 866 is roughly equivalent to a week's wages for someone in skilled labour like myself. The average was about 95 to 105 per week. It would have easily filled a large grocery trolley or covered major living expenses for the week. What? So you're telling me that... $80 could have bought 40 to 50 kgs of butter. Now, I just bought a 500 gram block of butter for $9 the other day. So that means that I would have paid $18 per kg, and $18 times 50 kgs would be $900. So the price of butter is approximately the same. About 1,000 pints of milk, which cost about 8 cents per pint following a price bump in 1976. You get roughly 160 loaves of bread at 50 cents each. A decent second-hand suit or a pair of high-quality leather boots. So again, just to put this into perspective, some of these things are relative to today, but some of them aren't. But like what he's saying is, hey Google, in 1976, $80 was enough to cover your living expenses for the week. Enough to cover my living expenses for the week now is probably about $800, about 10 times that amount. My dad spent $1,200 on a CD player. It might have even been his whole stereo, okay? Might have been his whole stereo, but to put it into perspective, I recently bought a hi-fi stereo, and it was top-of-the-line shit. And your audiophile is going to tell me it was actually bottom-of-the-line stuff. For me, at my level of the consumer market, I spent just under $5,000 total on, or about $4,500 on my hi-fi system, and that represents 4 weeks of living costs in the modern day and back in the day. I don't know where I'm headed with this, but the long story short is that let's look that up. Look, what would $1,200 buy in 1976? Substantial amount of money, representing about 3 months of the average annual wage, could comfortably cover a mixture of major consumer items, a used car, or a massive amount of everyday groceries. 1,600 Big Macs, 30,000 pints of milk, deposit on a house, many weeks of rent. Ask Google, what about a CD player? Was my dad talking shit? Did I get the story completely wrong? Yeah, so like I said, between 1975 and 85. So the launch 1982-83, world's first commercial CD player. So when the CD players first arrived on store shelves in the 80s, they were luxury items that retail for roughly 800 to 1,000 USD when converted to New Zealand dollars at the time. Factoring in high input tariffs and local inflation, a player easily cost well over 1,500 NZD. So yeah, my broski, my dad, who supported 5 children, for the most part, on 5 children and his wife, for the most part, on one salary. And my mum, who sort of contributed to that in between her time as a full-time mum, because she had infants for like 10 years. She worked a minimum wage job, and it was enough for my parents to afford to send 4 of their kids to a private school, and to have multiple cars, and to own a home, and to build a project home, and to go on overseas holidays. Like, on a semi-regular basis. It's hard to imagine what, let's just ask this. I want to send my 4 sons to a private school and feed them healthy food. I live with their mother since we're married. And I want to make sure I earn enough to pay the mortgage, the utilities, private tuition, normal food and groceries, as well as provide at least one 2-week holiday every year. How much do I need to earn in NZD 2026? To support a family of 6 with 4 boys in private school, you will need a combined household gross income of approximately 320,900 New Zealand dollars per year in 2026. This gross figure ensures you take home a net after-tax amount of roughly 201,000 NZD, which is required to cover your high fixed overheads, premium lifestyle choices, and standard statutory deductions like income tax, ACC levies, and KiwiSaver. Premium lifestyle choices. All I said was private school. Private school tuition, 100 grand. Average private school tuition fees start at around 25,000 per child annually. This does not account for additional sibling discounts, uniform school trips, or technology levies. Mortgage repayments, 54,000. That's like most people's yearly earnings. While the average CanStar mortgage data puts standard repayments around $3,665 a month. A home large enough for 4 growing boys easily pushes repayments closer to 4,500 NZD a month. Healthy food and groceries, 26k NZD. That's 500 a week. Feeding 6 people a whole food, healthy diet puts you into a liberal premium grocery bracket. This averages out to roughly 500 NZD a week at major supermarkets. Utilities and insurances, $9,600. This includes standard electricity, water, ultra-fast broadband, plus necessary comprehensive home contents and health/car insurances for a large household, averaging 800 NZD a month. Annual 2-week holiday, 12,000 NZD. A baseline estimate to cover domestic airfares or a road trip, family-sized accommodation, eating out, and activities for 6 people over a fortnight. To walk away with, like, they say it like it's a beating that you got, but it's actually 201,600 NZD net cash required to pay for these expenses. A single earner would face a heavy tax burden under the Cork NZ PAYE data structure. Approximately 101,000. Sorry, income tax PAYE, approximately 101,000 in tax. ACC earners levy, 2.5 grand. KiwiSaver contributions, 11,000. If both you and your wife earn an income, no, it's about single income. It's a single income. I'm trying to make sure my wife can live a stress-free life, spend as much time as possible with the kids, and maybe even do a little shopping for herself. Standard male goals, right? Standard man's goals. To give your wife a stress-free life where she does not have to worry about the budget, can comfortably raise your 4 sons, and has ample personal spending money, you will need a single gross income of 375,000 NZD per year in 2026. Okay, now let's just drop this down. What if I send my kids to a public school and then I'll read back through that as well. So I have to earn about $400,000 if I want to have 4 kids and send them to a private school. And I have to earn that all myself. Under the progressive NZ PAYE tax brackets, a single salary of $375,000 results in a net take-home pay of $231,000 per year. This income is optimized to account for tax. So if you want to have 4 kids and send them to a private school, that's what you're looking for. Now, just open up a new tab, google.com. What is the average yearly income for a qualified builder in NZ? 70 to 90k. What is $375,000 NZ in hourly rate with a 40-hour week? Salary of 375,000 means your hourly rate's 180 bucks. So here's the point I'm trying to make here. It's out of reach now. Because there is no job with an hourly rate of $180. There is no wage job. You cannot be skilled enough to earn $180 an hour. You must be on salary. What kind of NZ jobs have listed salaries over $350,000? In New Zealand, jobs listing salaries over 350k are almost exclusively found at the C-suite level in specialised medical practices or within top-tier legal firms. At this echelon, base pay is often supplemented with performance bonuses, equity, and profit sharing. You got stiffed. My father is still a builder. And when he was just a young man, approximately my age, he was able to supply his family with enough money to send multiple children to a private school. And including, after hours tuition, guitar lessons for some of us. There was like the mobility, and this is not to say that and my father has worked his ass off. I am not in any way trying to minimize the sacrifice of my dad. I'm just saying that at least he had a fair run of it. My dad got a chance. I'm alive now because my dad got a chance. I'm so glad that my dad got a chance in this country to have a few kids and send them to a decent school and give them a decent education so they don't turn out like this.
And the teachers are wondering why.
They're feral. They can't read. They're crazy.
People are putting screens in front of their children.
If you want your kids to not turn out like this, you have to earn this kind of money. Earning this level of income on a single salary means navigating the top New Zealand tax brackets, out of the top tax brackets. Which means that, again, you've got government pressure at that level. It's like the government's already, that's the top tax bracket, that's the top that's the max you could ever hope to earn in New Zealand. It's like $375,000 a year. That's massive for most people. That would be more than enough. But the average in New Zealand is more like 60-something K. Earning civil income on a single salary means navigating the top New Zealand tax brackets. Out of your gross 375,000 NZD, the government deductions calculate as follows. $122,000 in income tax. 2.7 in ACC earnings levy. 13 grand you get to keep in your KiwiSaver. Take home net 231. So $144,000 of your money disappears. You take home less than 2/3 of that just for trying to have 4 kids and send them to a decent school. By establishing this financial structure on your income alone, your wife can focus entirely on the children and managing the home without financial friction. If you want to map this out further, let me know. Do you already own a home? Are you looking at schools? Oh no, I don't own a home yet. I have to get there. I currently earn $31 an hour as a welder. What are my realistic chances of earning $375,000 in a year? And what's a an achievable roadmap to get there. No result. To be fully transparent, your realistic chances of earning 375,000 NZD a year as a standard wages earning welder on PAYE are effectively 0%. Data from Seek New Zealand and Indeed NZ shows that the average salary from an experienced welder ranges between 75,000 and 85,000 NZD per year, with top T Auckland CBD structural contracting rates maxing out at around 45 to 55 per hour. To reach 375,000 New Zealand dollars, you cannot remain an employee trading time for money. You have to transition from a tradesman to a business owner or a highly specialised subcontractor. I mean, I'll better cover this up so that no one can read my AI generated business plan, and in 6 months time, bro, you better just watch this space, because big things are happening, bro. Big things are happening right now. Work in progress, brother. Watch this space. So if you went to school and they told you, study hard, get a good job, and eventually you'll all be able to be C-suite level, top-tier salary employees. Holy shit. So don't give in to this nonsense. Go do your creative work. Go do something meaningful to you. Because if it pays the rent this week, it's better than fucking wasting your time worrying about how hard it's going to be for you to afford a home. It's better than you wasting your time arguing with any of your friends, family, or flatmates about the capital gains tax. It's going to be hard for you to ever own a home unless something radically changes in this country, and that's just how it is. You can sit across the dinner table as often as you'd like, as loudly as you'd like, and argue with your parents until everyone is blue in the face about how it's nearly impossible to foresee or forecast a future where you could afford a home, a mortgage, to have children, or to even just get some time on the couch with your feet up playing some Xbox once a week. You can argue, but it's only going to destroy your peace of mind, and it's going to harm your opportunities to enjoy what little time you have left with your parents and your family, while you can still get some pleasant small talk in. So while you can, get some small talk in, because it's all you've got for the rest of your days, is small talk about how you just need to eat less avocado on toast. And how if you just earned more, spent less, and had a better attitude, everything would be sweet. Don't even think about raising the possibility of sending migrants home. Don't even think about closing down the immigration process. Don't think about maybe turning the unused farmland in the Waikato into a massive hemp farm. Don't talk about forming a coalition of people to get together and seed some small villages and towns out in the broad grasslands of New Zealand's rural heart, because then you might inspire the kind of change which would encourage large groups of young people to move into the country and start self-sustaining communities of people who can fuel their own vehicles and who can feed their own families with the sweat of their own brows. But you wouldn't want that. What you want is to make it theoretically impossible for the working class to afford to have a family, and then you want to import immigrants at record levels to compensate for the loss in the working sector so that you can keep on paying boomers. You can keep on paying boomers their pensions. And so you can keep on paying for the massive social support needed for a generation of people who can't read. They can't function and they can't read. They are very unhappy. And I'm not trying to add to this. I have a lot of compassion for the kids these days, but anything I say about it gets immediately reprimanded and castigated and characterized as you're a piece of shit, you're a bigot, you're whatever. Yo. Maybe the most compassionate thing to do for kids who are struggling in school is to give them an iPad to calm them down. And maybe the most compassionate thing to do for your kid who can't focus or shut up when you're going and doing grocery shopping is to stick your phone in front of their face. And maybe the most compassionate thing we can do to allow people to have better mobility economically is to reduce the standards of mental aptitude and physical fitness required for all jobs across all domains all around the world. Maybe we could just make it easier for everyone all the time, not by making them more capable, more resilient, wiser, smarter, stronger, but by making the world a shitter, slower, worse place. Then we'd all be closer to equality. Equality like, like a flat kind of equality, a smooth kind of equality, like the silt that gathers at the bottom of a pond. And it's only visible when everything's all dried up. And that's when it starts to crack to pieces. We're just becoming the layer of slime that gathers at the bottom of your dog's water bowl. That's what we are becoming as a society, is a microfilm. Just the thinnest, most useless scum, and soon we'll all be swept away because we dare not have a conversation about the fact that it is fiscally impossible for the people who live in this country to imagine a future here. But it is totally reasonable for someone who knows that they're going to live in the same home as 4 of their working brothers and their parents, that they can come here, as many of them as possible, and they can buy as many homes here as they'd like, and they can overtake the market as much as possible. And now, as well as that, we are going to open up 60% of New Zealand's conservation land estate to foreign investment and development. Yo. While they're at it, while they're inviting people from overseas in to buy the houses that were on your watch list, they're also pretty keen to they're pretty keen to do this to your country. That's those are all the areas of land which are up for economic opportunities and exchange and disposal. Yo, I covered it a couple weeks ago. A lot of this country's economic problems began around the same time that the government, successive governments, and sometimes opposing governments, sold off the national assets of this country to pay the debts. They said, oh, well, this national industry will sell it to pay, and it's a bit like, it's like any situation where if you have a business which can make money, but you could also sell the business for some cash, but selling the business now means you can't make any more money off the business anymore because you don't own the business anymore. That anyone with a business mind knows that if you own a business and it's capable of making money, that the best thing you could do would be to optimize that business to actually produce the money that you need to pay your debts instead of just selling the business in a fire sale. It is like you've taken out a loan on a car and now you've lapsed behind on the loan repayments. I don't know what this is like, by the way. Never had this in my life. But you've lapsed on the loan repayments and now the car is worth less than the total of the loan plus the interest plus the fees. And now you're going to sell the car and use that money to repay back half the loan. But now you got no way to get to work, bro. You fucking idiot. And that's exactly what we've done. We've got no way to get to a strong economy now because we've already sold all the national assets. We've sold it all. And in the cases that the travesty of mismanagement that resulted was significant enough that it couldn't be ignored, then we bought those industries back with taxpayer money. Who the fuck is taking responsibility? Like, We want to know. We want to know. My generation would love to know why we cannot do the speed limit on the highway. We would love to know why the speed limit, the unofficial speed limit in New Zealand is 37 or 65. And if you know exactly what I'm talking about, because in a 50 zone, it's 37, and in a 100 zone, it's 65. Every fucking where you go. And I'm sorry, but my generation, talking about my generation, are sick to death of doing 40 kilometers an hour on the fucking highway. Sick to death of it. And who's holding us up? Two types of people. The old white grey and the fresh new brown. My niggers. It's straight up. It's old white boomers and the Indian immigrants that just arrived here. Those are the two groups of people, and it's usually like it's always either a Toyota Aqua or Prius or a Ford Ranger. And that's how you know. Before you know, that's how you know. Because if it's the Toyota, Aqua or Prius, you know it's an Indian fella. And like, much love, bro. I'm glad you had an opportunity here. I'm glad you took it. I wish nothing bad upon you. But please learn how to drive. Please. Like that campaign of like 100 km, it's not a target. That did too much. Way too much. I'm going back to 100 km. You can do it. I believe in you. Get a fucking move on, because we are so tired. My generation is so... I'm just excusing the artistic use of foul language here, but we are so tired of fucking around on the roads. It feels like Mach speed when you hit 100 kilometers an hour now. And like, I had to drive over to Cambridge on the weekend to perform and come back, and on the way over, it was a constant battle, because every time there was an opportunity to pass, if there was a passing lane, the person who you wanted to pass would take their sweet time getting into the passing lane, and then once you passed them, you would find that once the passing lane closed and you'd made some progress, that within 2 minutes of doing the speed limit in a 100k zone, within 2 minutes, every single time you managed to successfully pass the person behind which you've been doing 65 kilometers an hour for the last 10 to 15. Every time you get past them, within 2 minutes, you're behind the exact same person in a different vehicle. And it's either a Toyota Aqua being driven by an Indian immigrant, it's like a modern Kia or Hyundai SUV being driven usually by the female part of an elderly couple. So it's the woman... The female component of an elderly couple is driving her husband, who's got a cheese cutter on, and they are driving at 43 k's in an 80 zone, because that's what the speed recommendation signs for the trucks say. 45 round this corner or whatever. Okay, so if you see the Hyundai SUV, you know it's an old white couple. If you see the Ford Ranger, you know that it's a sweaty, overweight white bloke. And like, for the 5% of Ford Ranger owners which are young guys who actually get their utes dirty, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Genuinely am, because you guys are good cunts. I rate yous. Spin it up, bro. I love you. Much love, brother. Kia kaha. But unfortunately, you're going to be hemmed in now by the fact that 90+% of Ford Ranger drivers spend the majority of their time apparently cleaning their vehicles, because you've never seen a speck of mud on a single one. You've never seen you've never seen a single speck of mud on a fucking Ford Ranger, not once. And so they want your kids retarded. And when I say they, I mean the enemy. Okay, they is short for the enemy. They. Okay, so whoever you think it is, it's they. They, the media, the government, the people, the Freemasons, or whoever runs the country. Because at the end of the day, think about it, you've been voting for governments, and governments have been taking power and making great decisions at your behest for years. So who's responsible for this? The government. The people who've been making the decisions and carrying out the orders. So you would expect that there would be a lot of positive development. And over the last 50 years, things would have been getting much better for people all around the West, all around New Zealand. Things would have gotten better and better, but they haven't. So who's to blame? The government. Brother, if I have a car that has a consistent issue where it's unable to provide the appropriate amount of fuel for air or air for fuel, if it's running uneconomically, if it's spitting excess smoke, one of the first things I'm going to look to in a modern engine is going to be the electronic control module. In a modern car, to this is a modern analogy, I'm going to refer to the device, the part of the system, whose job it is to monitor and to control and to manage the operation of all of the combined components of the car. Because if what would you call that? The government, no, it's not, because it's like a group. It's like a government. Like if the government of the car's engine is doing a bad job, the car will run poorly. Therefore, if the car is running poorly, that means the government of the engine is running poorly. Do you see where I'm headed with this? Do you see the point? Do you see what I'm getting at here? It's like if government as an idea, if governing was so good, such a good way of producing a strong society, why is our country fucked? Why is our country fucked? If government is so good at governing, why is our country fucked? Can anyone answer that? No? I paid all my taxes. How'd the country get worse? I did my bit, you did yours. So how did the country get worse? How did the country get... In all the time that you've been busting your ass to find a job and pay your taxes and pay your fines and get out and vote and represent your community and be kind and generous and be equal and be super sweet to everyone and make sure you go to work and make sure you pay those groceries and make sure you feed the tamariki and make sure you do all the shit that you gotta fucking do. Pardon my French. But once you've borne the burden of coin and commerce from dawn till dusk, then you would hope that the people whose entire job it is to make the country you live in run well and to ensure that the economic opportunities that you generate can actually go to, like, your kids, that those people whose job it is to run this place have done the worst fucking job you could imagine. And just to bring it back, Mr. Analogy over here. If I hire a plumber, okay, if I hire a plumber to go over all of the joints and all the pipes in my house and make sure that the house is safe and that it's running smoothly and that there's no problems with my plumbing system, and I come back after work and he's rented out one of my rooms to an Indian corporation. If I hire a property manager to look after my house, and when I come home one day, he has subletted one of the rooms in the house to someone I don't know, what do I do at that point? If I hire a contractor, a property manager to come around and make sure that everything in my house is running well, that I've got food in the fridge, that my garden is fertilized, that my cats are happy, that my kids are looked after, and that they'll get a chance to occupy this place once I'm dead and gone. And I come home from work one day and I find that property manager has started renting out my kids' rooms to random people that I don't know. And that those random people are now not paying rent, and some of them are importing meth into the country. Do you think I'm stoked? Do you think I'm like, good job, mate? Look, I don't know entirely about your approach, but if you could recommend your competitor to me so I could get them in to fuck me the same way. Bro, we are retarded. And here's the main thing. You won't talk about it because you're literally afraid of being bullied by faggots. You're terrified. And I don't mean what you think I mean. I don't mean what you think I mean. Okay? Straight people can be faggots too. If you think that your identity as a feminist, if you think that your identity as an artist, if you think that your identity as a homosexual or as a trans person is now the defining characteristic by which you get to determine other people's judgment of you and other people's interactions with you and other people's feelings about you, then you're a faggot. Shut the fuck up. I got no hate for gay people. I got no hate for trans people. None. I got a lot of compassion, a lot of time. I'd love to have an open conversation with someone about how I think maybe the less compassionate approach is encouraging kids to pursue hormonal and medical treatments. And the more compassionate approach is to encourage kids to wait and chill out. Because whether you interfere or not, this is a period of your life where your hormones, naturally or otherwise, are going to be doing a menace to your brain and your feelings and your urges. And you need time. You need to let things flow naturally. And this will all be okay in the future. And we love you just the way you are. And that's why we're not going to let you just start using chemicals or surgeries to change who you are. Because we love you just the way you are. Okay? So don't be a faggot. And start defining your life by your sexuality. Because we love you just the way you are. So they want you to have all of your political discussions about sex and gender. And race. Pick a side and be a racist. Pick a side and hate the other is the message. Because you cannot tell me that there isn't an extreme amount of hatred and vitriol for Christian people from modern liberals. You can't tell me that there wasn't an outpouring of glee on social media when Charlie Kirk was taken out. You can't tell me that there wasn't like an abundance of videos of people with dyed hair and nose rings laughing about and celebrating the fact that Charlie Kirk got his blood emptied out on the floor and killed in front of a crowd of people for doing what he was best known for, just having a conversation that someone didn't want to continue. But more about that in a few years' time when we're okay to talk about it. All good? You're supposed to be talking about your sexual identity and not these crucial parts of the country which are being sold off and distributed. You're supposed to be talking about young people being exposed to right-wing extremism online instead of being worried about this. And in fact, the most important thing for you to do is to protect children from finding things like this. You wouldn't want, like in the wake of a social media video going viral of a Sudanese immigrant in Belfast attempting to behead a local man named Stephen Ogilvie. In the wake of those events, you would not want social media to escalate tensions among the racial communities in Belfast. No, I'm not. Sorry, just to be clear, I'm not worried at all about more stabbings and attempted beheadings. That's fine. But we need to stop these kids from talking about it on social media now. Which would be an entirely convenient time to not be having this discussion either. Asmongold did a phenomenal service to the worldwide fight for human justice by reading this entire report on his stream, and it's probably the kind of thing like anything. If you read, it was like 7.5 hours. If you do 7.5 hours, it's going to be It's going to be dry at times. I don't know how anything could be less interesting in the most morbid sense of the world, in the most morbid sense of the word, than this report. This is the most horrifying thing ever. It's barbaric. It's barbaric. And right now people are arguing about whether or not the tally is true. I saw someone saying, can it be 15k? Are you sure it couldn't be 15,000, not 250,000? Oh yeah, no, that's cool then, bro. 15,000 young women exposed to systematic rape and abuse would be all good. But 250 would probably be a bit beyond the pale. So when it hits 250, we'll do something about it, eh? Once we can verify that it is 250, we'll do something about it, right? You're totally on board with definitely doing something about it if we can confirm that it's 250,000, right? At least 250,000? So if we can confirm that it's at least 250,000, then we'll have the full support of everyone across the political spectrum to do something drastic about the systematic gang rape and abuse of white British girls by primarily Pakistani Muslim men, right? Then we'll do something about it, right? Fucking retards, man. So, next time someone pulls you up for your language, next time someone pulls you up for being a big meanie, we tell them to shut the fuck up and read the Rape Gang Inquiry Report. Straight up, bro. I'm not having a single political conversation with someone who isn't at least aware of this now. If you haven't read this, if you haven't had a look at this, if you don't know about this, or this, or this, or this,
Why do you need 2 screens?
then shut the fuck up, man. Because we are done. Anyone, if all of us who listened to Linkin Park growing up are sick of traveling under the speed limit. We're sick of iPad kids. We're sick of being lectured by kids with dyed hair. We're sick of being lectured by people who hate their own lives. We're sick of being called hateful people because we believe in Jesus or in the good in this world, because we believe in traditional family values, because we have an idea of the human family, of the human family unit which extends back through time and doesn't match up with your newfound idea that everything has to be rejiggered according to the imaginations of a new populist leftism. I'm over it. Because that new populist leftism is supported by like a 10% of complete fucking retards in society, and then it's amplified to the extent that you think the whole world has gone mad. The whole world has not gone mad. The whole world has not gone mad. The whole world is about to be furious. Because each day that goes by, another page of this gets read every minute. Okay? Millions of people have read this now. Millions of them. And millions of people are struggling to sleep at the moment because they've read this. I wanna drop down something here to one of the parts of the conclusions that I read yesterday. You catch any glimpse of this. Fuck, man. This isn't the part I was looking for, but the human cost is incalculable and permanent. Survivors carry lifelong PTSD, complex trauma, addiction, chronic physical pain, interrupted education, criminal records, lost children, and unrelenting fear. Many have attempted suicide repeatedly and some succeeded. Others lost their own children to the same failing system that failed them. The gangs used pregnancy as a deliberate weapon of control, and the state compounded the harm by removing babies for adoption or placing them in care while abandoning the young mothers in the environments where the abuse continued. Intergenerational trauma has been institutionalized. The state recorded the injuries, the sexually transmitted infections, the pregnancies, and the disclosures, yet chose votes, so-called community relations, and fear of racism accusations over the protection of British children. Well, no longer. But call me what you want, man. You'll never catch me doing anything hateful or hurtful towards anyone on the basis of their sex, gender identity, race, faith, or otherwise. Never. So call me what you will. I love all my niggas. I don't give a fuck what they call me. I'm not what they call me. I'm concerned about the Rape Gang Inquiry Report. I'm concerned about the Conservation Amendment Bill. I'm concerned about the declining birth rate, and I'm concerned about the declining literacy rate. And unless we have some serious conversations and do something about it, we will be fucked. Proper fucked. Real fucked. Pardon my French. I think I began this broadcast with a declaration of my intent to clean up my language. It's really hard to do that when you're looking at something like this. So we'll be making a response, and we'll be putting in a what do they call it? Yeah, I think it's a response. You still can, by the way. You've got until July the 2nd. So you've got like 10 more days. You're being psychologically abused by the media at large, around the world, internationally, locally, domestically, in your local area. Like, in my local area, the World War II memorial pools are being destroyed by the local city council as a result of their declaration that apparently they're structurally unsound, despite the fact they did no investigation into the matter. At a national level, the national government is making a fuck show of themselves by appearing to be racist towards Māori people, while also appearing to kowtow to all Indian immigrants at the same time as signing a free trade deal with India, which makes them beholden, required by the agreement, to encourage, among the New Zealand population, 30 billion US dollars, 50 billion New Zealand dollars worth of foreign direct investment. That is your investment, your cash, your money, from New Zealand into India. That's right. The India-New Zealand free trade deal requires the New Zealand government to support, sponsor, and encourage 50 billion New Zealand dollars worth of investment by New Zealanders into India. And now they want to dispose of up to 60% of our public conservation land. A staggering 5 million hectares of public conservation land. It was introduced to Parliament on May 7 by the Minister of Conservation, Tama Potaka, who says he has no intention to sell off large areas of conservation land, just bits and bobs. It has very little, if any, conservation value, he told Parliament. There's no real value, but Doc continues to hold on to it. Actually, we should see that in order to generate some money to invest in the biodiversity the opposition trumpets is the most important thing that we need to do now. Brother. A quick capsule poll found that 96% of respondents oppose the bill. Greenpeace has called the bill the biggest attack on conservation land in New Zealand's history. This week they said it is the darkest and most critical moment in the fight to protect Aotearoa from destructive mining. I think we need to have some fucking adult conversations. I'm of the opinion that New Zealand should be exploring its oil reserves, exploring its coal reserves, exploring its mineral reserves. Maybe we should be not producing enough food for like tens of millions of people. We've only got 5 million people here. Maybe we could use some of that farmland to plant out with hemp seed, and then we could grow hemp seed, and then we could produce biodiesel, and then we could go out and send out some tenders to some vehicle manufacturers and say something like, hey Toyota, produce for us, New Zealand, 20,000 Toyota Vitzes with a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine and a hybrid battery pack and regenerative braking. And then the New Zealand government sponsors that. They buy them in as kits from Toyota. They get manufactured in New Zealand plants, creating New Zealand jobs for New Zealanders who are then able to buy a car which is subsidised by the government, highly economical, and runs on a locally produced fuel which is grown on green pastures, which used to be used to grow the kind of fruit, veggie, beef, lamb, etc. quantities which could be used to leverage the New Zealand grocery price, drive everyone into a sustained level of cost of living crisis, and make New Zealand cheese available to the Japanese for like $20 a kg, the same price we pay for it here. So we could stop producing enough food for like 80 fucking 90 million people, and we could start producing enough food and enough fuel for the 5-6 million people that are here, we could start making some money out of Marsden Point again. We could start making some money on biofuel. We could halve the amount of food production, take all of that land that we repurpose and turn it into fuel generation, because the diesel engine was designed by Rudolf Diesel to run on peanut oil and hemp oil were the first fuels he used. Rudolf Diesel ostensibly killed himself because he saw that the invention which he designed, which he invented and patented specifically for the flourishment of human technology, it was meant to be a green technology, because diesel engines can run on just about anything, any liquid fuel, and so as a result they can be tuned to run on things like peanut oil and hemp oil, as I mentioned, and that we could have a nationwide industry of growing all the fuel we need, building all the cars we need, growing all the food we need, supplying everything locally here, and not needing to sell off any of our conservation. We could give this shit away to locals. Just give it to, just take half. Just do it. Here's my plan. Take all of the land that they're currently trying to allocate with this bill as disposable. Okay, randomly select half of it and remove it from the bill. Okay, and say at the very least we're going to take the amount that we're making available for sale or disposal and we're halving it. So okay, so the red and orange areas of this map will be half the size, and Kiwis will know that. Okay, the amount of land which is going up for government discretionary disposal is being halved, and that'd be a good thing. And then take the remaining amount and just distribute it to Kiwis. Just give it to the Kiwis. Give it to actual New Zealanders. And then see what they do with it. They might create some economic opportunity. Or you could sell it overseas. And then we could end up with like a bunch of private bunkers of like AI billionaires here in New Zealand, like we already have. Probably enough of. Enough said. Everyone's so fucking stupid these days you can't have a chat. Everyone's so racist these days that you can't say a single thing without them jumping on your back. Everyone is so phobic, so phobophobic, that you can't say anything or have any opinion or any belief about anything without someone jumping down your throat about it. But I don't care anymore, because I think that those people make up a much smaller portion of the population than I ever realised. And I'm personally not interested in self-censoring anymore, knowing full well that I've got no hateful intentions whatsoever for other people on this earth. I literally just don't want any more rape gang shit. And I'm less interested in kids being cast. Like, I want kids to, if we're going to start sexually propagandizing children, maybe we could just at least restrict their decision making in that area until they're like 18. You know, the same kind of age that we don't let kids get tattoos or buy alcohol or cigarettes until they reach. Because those sorts of decisions could have like lifelong impacts, which you might regret. And so that's why we say to kids, don't start drinking or smoking cigarettes. Cut your dick off though, they're sweet as. This has been a public service announcement. 1 hour 53. I'm done for the day. But it just goes to show that you can get very, very passionately distracted. And you could jump from point to point to point and never quite fully understand the depth and the breadth of the debauchery and the degeneracy that we've fallen into in 2026. But boy, chat, are we cooked. Unless we start speaking our minds again. If I drop the F-bomb, I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to say it again because I'll get put on the list. But if I drop that word that offends you and it hurts you so, you can come to me and you can say, do you love me? And I'll say, yes. I got you, fam. Come round for a cup of tea. Come round for a game of Halo 3. Come round, homie, hang out with me, and we'll be just fine. I got no pre-existing judgments. And this is one of the things that people fail on, as they think they've got this idea. Here goes another non-Christian telling me what to believe about my beliefs. They think that judge not lest ye be judged means have no opinions about anything, but in the context I believe it means don't deal out any punishments or you'll have the same punishments dealt out to you. Like, judge in that context means to do a thing, not to think a thing. It means like a physical thing that you would, like a punishment. Like don't punish other people or you'll be punished in the same way. But the same Jesus says, be as wise as serpents, or be as discerning as serpents and as gentle as doves. So maybe that's a better way to go about it and say, look, I love you, mate, but I just don't, you don't get to tell me what I can say. Okay? I got all the love in the world for you, bro. You don't just get to tell me what I can say. Okay? Is that alright? Fair enough? All good? Can we agree on that? I don't get to tell you what to say. I don't get to walk into a room and be like, oh, my pronouns are fags are us and fags are not. So if you're gonna, it's like they, them, but it's like fags and fag self. Massive faggot is my pronoun. Tard self. Tard self is my preferred pronoun. My preferred pronouns are fags are gay. So you have to call me fags are gay. Oh, fags are gay over there is because that's my neo pronoun. Do you see how this doesn't work? Because you're just the only thing you're using to select whether or not I can say it is how your tummy feels when I say it. You fucking retard. I don't think you do get it. Sweet dreams, fam. This has been fun. Love you heaps.